Yo, we are Pastor Andy and Sandesh.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're live.
Yo!
Yes! Wow!
How are you?
Master, how are you?
Yes, I'm very excited.
Of course you're excited lah. Someone is so punctual today. The topic
I got everything ready. I got my coffee, fried chicken, water.
Wow.
Yes.
It feels like it's been a while since we had. I think because we had like a long, the 5 weeks gap thing.
Oh yes,
5 weeks lah, the 2 weeks. Not 5 weeks lah, the 2 weeks or the 5 weeks. If you get what I mean.
Yes,
that one. Yes, that one. Yes, but
Wow.
Yes, but anyway, welcome back.
Sandesh.
I hope you are, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. But today, yes.
Yeah. Wait, I want to shout out. I want to shout out to someone. Hey, this guy just joined us on. Nick Q. Wow.
Hey, this kind of topic you come lah.
This topic only he comes back.
That's right.
Good.
You must put this kind of topic one. Yes.
Yes. No, I'm sure he's here because he was.
No lah, they probably come in because they got it.
No lah, they came to ask for their friends. For their friends. My friend want to ask.
Speaking of ask, you can actually ask any questions regarding our topic for today. We're going to talk about pornography.
We're talk only, No watching talk only, right? We're going to talk only, right?
Talks. If you have any questions at all, you can actually reach out to our Slido link on the top left, which is on the top left, not sure. But you can scan the QR code, you can ask the questions anonymously. Yes, so you need to reveal your face.
Yes.
Yeah. So like Nick wants to ask a question for his friend, right? Actually, his friend also can attend. Yeah. Okay.
Wow. It's 1,000 people.
So, Pastor. Yes. So, Pastor. Who is the specialist of porn? Are you going to talk about it, Pastor?
No.
Why?
No. I'm not. Because I'm not a specialist now. Yeah.
What happened?
Am I here? Can you hear me?
Yes. We talk about porn. We talk about porn. You panic? Is it, Pastor? You panic? Yes.
No. Okay. I'm not an expert. We got an expert to come and speak today.
Yes.
Yeah. The thing is, expert doesn't mean he's the one who makes the porn. Okay. He used to. I guess you use the word addict. That means you cannot stop yourself from you're not in control anymore. I think that's when you know you're an addict. Recently, I met him. No, we met up to talk about other things actually. We are involved in a different project at the very exciting project. Which we will tell you more about. Somewhere around the conversation somehow. Dude, only you think like that lah.
You're giving the wrong suspense. Okay.
Let the worship project. Okay, someone holding now. Worship project. So somewhere along the conversation, he started telling me about his thing lah. He's talking about young people. You talk to them about this thing. Talk to them about what? On this topic lah. And he told me how he used to be bound by it. He's learned how to overcome it. So he's got very clear, systematic ways, understanding what the problem is. To overcome it. So I thought, this sifu to come in. Wow, this guy. He's a sifu, not to teach you how to watch. No, it's not to teach you how to. Yes, sifu. This is the sifu.
This is the sifu. So,
I guess you can put your hands together. You're online, wherever you are. Hands feet together. Let's welcome our guest for tonight.
Sandesh.
Yes, Mr. Sandesh.
Yes.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Nice.
All right. So nice to meet you. Yes,
Yes.
wonderful. Okay.
Maybe short intro
Okay.
lah.
Short intro,
Sandesh. What do you do? What do you do? You know the intro thing lah. Where you from? Etc. Yeah. Etc.
Cool. Well, if you guys are wondering what my ethnicity is, I'm Punjabi. I know there are a lot of us around that are actually Christian believers. And I hail from the beautiful city of Kuala Lumpur. So what I do day to day, I run an event company. I specialize in technical production. So we rent out sound systems, lighting systems, and LED screens. We do more or less corporate events. So I'm also contracted by a church to do sound engineering, and visual aid and stuff like that. So I am more on the technical side of things.
Nice.
Ganesh, you understand or not?
Something lah.
Something.
Sound engineering. Yes.
Yes. Ganesh is an engineer also. But he's not sound, not audio lah. He's supposed to be aeronautical.
Supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's just a paper.
Now.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes. So this question, because this is the topic is out there, right? Let's talk about porn, and it's very interesting that during a conversation where Sandesh, when you shared about your passion, about this topic and how you get out of all this. So my question is this: people are generally not okay to talk about porn. They are not okay upfront in the camera, public, and this is online. You're on YouTube, right? On YouTube, right? It's not normal for someone to come up here and say that I had addiction, and I'm willing to talk about it. I'm willing to help people talk about it. But what makes you be passionate about this topic? Not being shameful, not afraid of being judged. Why are you doing this?
Well, the reason I'm doing this is, of course, people are not talking about it, and it's a taboo topic. It's a taboo topic, and coming from a spiritual standpoint, I would say, this is like one of the best for the enemy to draw people away from actually being a Christian. Because it's such a taboo, and there's a sense of fear around. People won't talk about it. So what happens? People will just get deeper into the addiction, and they don't actually realize what it's actually doing to their brain. What pornography does, and I'll share a little bit more of this later. But what pornography does is it hacks your brain to the point where you are stimulated beyond your comprehension, and you end up not being in control of your daily life. That's how bad it can get. So the reason why I'm so passionate about number one, people are not talking about it. Two, it seriously messes people up. People have no idea just how bad it can get.
Right. Yes.
Wow. Ganesh. I think our audience telling us.
Correct. Someone say. Okay. Thanks for sharing something. But I think we should get our audios check maybe a quick 30 seconds break or what. Our organizers.
Our organizers say
yes.
Restart all over.
Yes. Okay, guys. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Don't leave the YouTube channel. But I'll see you guys in a minute or so. All right. Be right back.
Okay.
Adoy, what happened?
Sandesh, you watching on YouTube also?
just heard your.
Yeah, we got all kinds of people joining us tonight, lah.
Yes.
Wow. Got pastor,
Mark
or no,
Tan is
something.
it? Aaron
Mark Tan.
Song.
Wow, all these pastors all lah. This help.
No lah, they're
topic
learning
some,
so that they can teach their teens. Yes.
They're learning. Okay, they're learning. All right, great.
We got your audio?
We are back. All right, cool. All right, just double check. Organizer. How's the audio? Everything okay?
All okay, man.
I can hear myself lah, Ganesh.
Yeah.
I'm hearing
But I
myself
think that's
talking.
through maybe faith or something lah. Oh, sorry, I mentioned the
It's
organizer's
okay.
name.
Yeah, we have faith that we'll all be all right.
Okay, we are back.
No, no.
And just 2 minutes ago,
we're back.
Sandesh was sharing why he's passionate about helping youth
Yes.
get out of this addiction, right? The porn addiction. And I think I really really salute one point. He said it's really because people don't want to talk about it, and he chose to be there as a representative of people who don't want to talk about it, lah, right? And that's really nice.
Yeah.
Okay, Pastor.
Yeah.
I'll leave the stage to you.
Wow, the stage is Sandesh. But
Yes.
okay, Sandesh, why don't you tell us your story lah? You know,
My
tell us
story,
your story. No, Sandesh lah, day. Why you so
We are
I heard
both the
Ganesh.
Asians. We are
I'll
both the Asians, bro. We are the Asian people.
Sandesh,
Yes.
our guest of honor today. I mean, tell us. You told us why just now, but maybe you bring us back to you know how you got trapped. When you realized you were trapped. You
Right.
know, what did it take for you to even get out? Like, just tell us your story.
Definitely. Happy to. Thank you guys for the platform once again. Now, my story actually starts when I was 15 years old. When this is the age where most people are exposed to internet pornography. Now, being from Gen Y, a lot of parents don't necessarily want to talk about it. And a lot of parents okay, so here's some of the taboos, right? Taboo number 1, it's normal. Taboo number 2, you can't control it. It's human nature, right? And for me, my case, not dissing on my parents, I love them, of course, with all my heart, but it was the one thing that my dad said to me was, it's normal, you need it, which, by the way, I would like to bust the myth right now. It's not true. So I got addicted to internet pornography when I was 15 years old. The addiction kind of set in. It first started, in my my PMR. If you guys know what that is, it started on my PMR year. I got so really stressed. I got my first cell phone. It was a Nokia Lumia. I got access to the internet. Open up my phone. Initially I thought, hey, what is all this? Then I went to the first porn site. By the way, I'm just gonna use I'm gonna be very no filter with my words. Of course, I'm not gonna swear, but I'm gonna be no filter. So I'm gonna use terms like sex, orgasms, RedTube, etc. That kind of thing. So the first site that I got into was RedTube. Not to give anyone any ideas, by the way. Now, yeah, I got into that and I was like, oh my gosh, that is, the first thought was like, oh gosh, that's disgusting, that's repulsive, right? But the next week, I think, I went back. I was like, oh, okay, it kind of gives people pleasure, etc., right? I did not learn how to actually, I did not learn how to feel myself up until I was 17. Right, and that was when I actually had my first encounter with a girl. So that was when I actually learned. The body is quite amazing. Can make you feel all these things. So unnaturally, right? Because people are not teaching this. Of course, there is a bit of education. You've got you've got the PMR. PMR. You've got the science. Chapter 4. Chapter 4 of your science textbook on Form 3. That's the only education that most of us have if you're based in Malaysia. If you're from another country, I'm not sure what kind of education that you are given. So that was the only form of education I have, and it's all science based. It has nothing to do with it has nothing to do with urges, how it makes you feel, etc., etc. So I got addicted, I would say around the 16-year old mark. That was when I started watching it every day. And of course, you don't tell mom and dad, right? 17 years old, I started to, feel myself up. So this is how bad it got. 18 years old, I realized, okay, maybe you can do it twice a day. 19 years old, I was doing it 3-4 times a day, and it started taking over my daily life. I started college late, by the way. And by the way, I'm also a dropout. I didn't finish college. And this is basically one of the main reasons why I didn't finish college, because that's how addicted I was. 19 years old, I ended up starting my event company when I was 20, and even that was really, really difficult, because I noticed I was getting tired all the time, and this is all symptoms of a porn addiction. So I started getting tired all the time. I started getting sick all the time. I had a lot of brain fog. If you don't know what that is, it's the inability to focus on one thing for long periods of time, and the inability to come up with coherent ideas. So there was that, and by 20 years old, and I'm just going to be very upfront about this, by 20 years old, I realized, oh, you can actually hire prostitutes. And so that's what I started doing. So my porn addiction then became a sex addiction. And then, because you're event company, you start renting out your stuff and whatnot, you tend to make quite a bit of money there. So that's where the money actually started going. Of course, I provided for the people that I need to provide for. Started my life out pretty early, and some of my money, if not half of my income, I would say, went to that every single day. So porn addiction became a sex addiction, which was very ironic, because I was also a very faithful servant in church. I served every single week. I was either on the sound desk, or I was on the worship team, or I was ushering. I was doing all sorts of things. Back then, I was serving in my uncle's church. You get the sense where you have this kind of addiction and everything, but you can still go to church and pretend as if nothing happens, right? And you don't know that there's a problem because it's normalized, quote unquote, right? By the time I realized it was a problem, it was about 5 years later, when I was 25 years old, when COVID first hit. Basically, that's given up my age already. I'm gonna be 27 this year. When COVID hit, March 16 of 2020, of course, event company, that was the first one to go down. So I lost my income. I was at home alone in my room. So guess what I did lah? Guess what I did? I had a nice brand new iPhone, nice unified connection, 200 megabytes per second. Binge watch lah every single day. Whack. Then after that, the turning point was when I came across a video by this guy from Canada. So they were selling a testosterone supplement, to increase testosterone and whatnot. So I thought to myself, what is testosterone? What does it do for the male body? And that was actually the beginning of how I came to realize what was actually going on in my head. So they are a supplement company, and I ended up working for them because that's how passionate I was about this. So they are a supplement company, and they more or less they sell a herbal supplement. Spoiler, it contains Tongkat Ali. Everybody knows where Tongkat Ali is from. It's from our country, but they sell it to people all over the world. One thing that I really love about this company is its community, and it is through that community where I actually discovered what a problem this was. So the person that founded this company is a neuroscientist. So immediately when I bought a supplement, I started pestering him every day for a job. Say, please give me a job. So in the span of the time when I was pestering him for a job, I started to undergo a serious life change. What that meant is I started taking cold showers. I turned off the heater completely. I cut the wire of my heater and I started taking cold showers day and night. And what cold showers does is it normalizes your dopamine levels. I started meditating, and I don't mean like meditating in the Holy Spirit. I mean like sitting down, being quiet, and just focusing on the present moment. And I started exercising on a daily basis. I started doing OMAD, which is 1 meal a day. Which evolutionarily, I know we are Christians, we believe in creationism, but evolutionarily, we can do 1 meal a day. And even, back then, if you look in the Bible, people like Abraham, Noah, they used to have 1 meal a day, which is actually fine. So we'll get into that as well. High stimulating foods and whatnot. Those are all sources of addiction. Let me know if I'm rambling too much, Pastor. There's actually a lot that I have to say about this topic.
Yeah, no problem. I'm just thinking Malaysians will struggle with 1 meal a day.
It's not
Most
impossible,
Malaysians
but
will-
it's achievable.
Yeah. Okay,
It's
carry
not
on.
impossible, it's achievable. It's not impossible, it's definitely achievable. So yeah, and so I did all that, but still wasn't enough. I was still tired. I was still getting sick, but I started coming back. I noticed that I could start doing stuff. I noticed that I could start learning new things slowly. So I started picking up a few new skills. I started picking up. I picked up web development. I picked up a bit of forex trading here and there. So, and I was selling my assets, so I had a decent amount of savings to live on. Excuse me. So yeah, so I was doing that, but it still wasn't enough. So the turning point, right after I actually got accepted in the community, there was this one guy that they were talking about. His name is Gary Wilson. Gary Wilson, may he rest in peace. He passed away last year. Gary Wilson is the author of the book called Your Brain on Porn. So him and the person that was my boss, who is a neuroscientist, they were good friends. Gary Wilson started yourbrainonporn.com. And 2 days after he started the website, he got sued by Pornhub. So that the people who are making billions in the porn industry, they actually know what they're doing. And in a bit, I'm going to reveal exactly what they're doing to you and how they're actually controlling you, because the reality is, and I hope everybody's listening to this, you are being controlled by the people of this world. You are being controlled by the billionaires, the people who are shooting the porno videos. They shoot in a certain way. You are being controlled by the big corporate companies such as McDonald's. You are being controlled by high calorie intake foods and pornography. They are called super stimuli, and they access the primal functions of your brain, and they basically induce an ever-growing addiction in your brain that more or less takes over your life. So when I got into the group, I found out about this guy named Gary Wilson, and he started the website called Your Brain on Porn. He wrote a book and everything. So the moment he released the book, he released the website, he got sued, right? He got sued. Whether he won or lost, I don't know. I didn't really read that, but he got sued, and he immediately received a lot of funding. So he started this movement. This movement is called No Fap. Now, fap is basically masturbation lah, for guys and for women. This topic is for both men and for women, by the way. No Fap is basically a 90-day journey that a man or a woman takes to rid your brain of the neural pathways of pornography. If you want to do it independently, it is the hardest thing, especially for a guy. It is the hardest thing a man can do. So I'm sorry, I'm rambling again. Are there any questions so far?
No, Not yet. I think everyone's like listening intently.
All right. Cool. So here
Yes.
is the big So here is the big picture, right? This is all based on the book Your Brain on Porn, right? This is the big picture. Humanity has evolved, right? But the one thing that has definitely not evolved is our brains, right? Our brains take up 25% of the overall energy in our body. Where does the energy come from? It comes from carbohydrates, it comes from fats, it comes from protein, mostly carbohydrates, right? And spare carbohydrates are stored in the form of, you guessed it, fat. So if you have excess carbohydrates, you more or less, convert it into fat. So our brains have not evolved, right? Our brains are the same brains that they were 2,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, a few centuries, few millennia ago. They are the same brain, right? Our brain has two primary functions. Number one, reproduce. Male and female alike reproduce. Number two, high calorie intake, survival. Okay, so let's talk about high calorie first. Okay, now your brain says no matter what you do, you must get calories. So in the olden days, right, if you look in the Bible, how many people were actually obese? Probably none, or probably they don't mention it, right? So you look at all the illustrations, and so everybody is a slender, tough figure. Why? They used to hunt for their food. They either used to hunt for their food or they worked for it. They grew their food, right? There was no sense of currency back in the olden days, right? The money only started coming in, I think, around I'm not really sure, but money, by the New Testament, money had already started coming into effect. So people had to work for their food, and people had to work hard. For their food. Now, coming into this generation, right, you've got McDonald's, for example, right? How did they become a multi-million-dollar business? The answer is simple. In your brain, you have your prefrontal cortex, you have your cerebral cortex, but the one thing that is similar in all the animals, all mammals, by the way, we are considered a mammal. You've got rats, you've got cows, you've got goats, etc., etc. They are all mammals. We have one the exact same brain part. It is called the limbic system. The limbic system is the part of the brain that governs all your emotions. It governs joy, it governs fear, and it's also where your desires originate, right? Your hunger, your urges. The difference that humans have with other mammals, right? You see dogs, cats, and everything. They normally, if they're hungry, they're angry, everything, they can't control themselves. But humans, we have a huge cerebral cortex. So we have comprehension. We can understand what we're doing. We have a logical mind, right? That is how we evolve as a species. That is how we have technology. That's how I'm here on my MacBook today, because we have evolved as a species to a point where we can communicate effectively, can start businesses, etc. It's amazing how humanity has evolved. But the primitive part of it, the limbic system, which is down here at the back part of your brain, that is the place where your emotions, your desires, and everything are formed. That is where most addictions are targeted. So scientists have done multiple experiments, and you ever wonder why they use rats? This is why, because the limbic system is the most similar. The limbic system is the most similar from humans to rats. So, for example, right, I'm sure some of you have heard of this experiment where they put this hat on the rat's head and they stimulate the dopamine system. We'll get into the dopamine system later. They stimulate the dopamine system just enough for the rat to go and pull the lever. So this is your dopamine system. Within your limbic system, there's something called a reward circuit. Okay, your reward circuit is primitively and you're primarily the biggest thing that a human can go after, your reward system. So picture this. Let's say, for example, Ganesh, you're hungry right now, right? You're thinking, oh, what's your favorite food, Ganesh?
McDonald's.
McDonald's. Okay, you think about the
Uh-huh.
McDonald's fries. You think about the McDonald's fries, right? You like the cheese shaker or not?
I never really go for it. It's usually the ayam
Never really
goreng.
go for it.
Yeah.
Usually the ayam goreng. Okay. Let's say the ayam
Oh,
goreng. Okay,
okay.
let's say you're hungry right now. Okay, that's an urge. Okay, that occurs in the limbic system, right? Your limbic system will communicate with your reward circuit. Now your reward circuit will fill it with a gas. The gas is called dopamine. Okay, when you go to McDonald's, you see the fried chicken, your dopamine fills up 25%. You pay for the chicken, 75%. You get the chicken, you look at the chicken, your mouth watering already, 100%. Okay, 100%. Your dopamine levels have filled up 100%. When you get the reward, the tank releases into your reward circuit. Does that make sense? So let me explain it again now. So when you get the reward, right, or when you're going towards the reward, your tank fills up. Okay, when you actually receive the reward, your tank will unleash the reward into your brain. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is more or less your reward system, right? It generates a chemical in your brain and it will only release it when you complete the task. Okay. So that is the limbic system and that is your reward circuit, right? This is how it's been manipulated, right? So we talked about the two primary functions of the limbic system. Okay, your limbic system is responsible for two of the biggest priorities in the limbic system are what? Reproduce, to survive, meaning get high calories.
Yeah.
Okay, so from the olden times, you go and you hunt for your food. Now high calorie food is accessible, right? Now what McDonald's does is they put it in such a way, their fries for example, they put it in such a way where it stimulates the right parts of the brain to release as much dopamine as possible. Because the more dopamine is released in your brain, the more you keep going back for more, right? The more you get, the more you go for it, right? It's human nature. The more you get, the more you want. Okay, we are never situated with that, right? If if you want to argue and say you are, then that's on you lah. So most human nature is the more you get, the more you want. Okay, and the reason for that is the reward circuit in our head. We always go after the reward. So the chemical balance in our limbic system shapes our attitude, how we see the world, your psychological subconscious. Let me give you a picture of a limbic system that is out of balance. Let's say, for example, you have someone who has a physical trauma. Maybe their parents hit them and abused them. Okay, their survival as a child, their survival system has not fully matured, has not fully adapted. So therefore, the brain does not know what is going on, right? So the trauma will seep into the limbic system and manipulate it to the point where survival is hitting others, right? So if you guys know like psychological psychological implications is, let's say for example someone has been raped, right? Let's say a guy that has been raped, most likely that person will grow up to be a rapist, right? If someone has been physically abused, most likely the person will grow up to be very, very violent, right? So an out of balance limbic system looks something like that. And the danger is any form of addiction, we're talking specifically about porn, porn addiction starts very, very early on. It starts gripping your limbic system very, very early on. So let's go back to the rat experiment. So the rat experiment, what they did with the hat that they put on the rat is they stimulated the dopamine system to start filling the tank with dopamine. Okay, and the only way to release the reward is for the rat to go and push a lever. Okay, so of course they trained the rat to do that, etc., etc. Then they ran the experiment. So they put the hat on the rat, and the rat went, and the rat pushed the lever. It kept releasing and releasing and releasing. Okay, so the tank filled up, the rat pushed the lever again, release. So the rat kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. The rat went on for about 7 days and 14 hours before the rat died. 7 days and 14 hours. Now, they purposely chose like a rat with a family lah. So the rat had a wife. The rat had I don't know whether rats can get married or not lah. The rat had a maid, and the rat had 2 kids. Okay, 2 pups as they call it. Okay, so more or less, they put them all in the same cage. They put them all in the same cage, and the male rat, they're supposed to go and find food lah, take care lah. You can just be with them. The rat basically put everything down and went to push the lever. Okay, then they escalated the experiment. They put an electrical wire in between the rat and the lever. The rat still went, willing to go through all the electricity just to go and touch the lever. So then after that, they turned off the lever. They put food in the cage. The rat refused to go for the food. Why? Because the food is no longer as stimulating as the lever. Right? So this is the other phenomenon. This is called the Coolidge effect. The Coolidge effect is loss of interest in other stimulating activities. So porn is something that is classified as a super stimuli, right? High calorie foods are also classified as super stimuli. Super stimuli are, by the way, social media as well. Social media is also classified as super stimuli. I'll explain why in a second. Super stimuli is something that overrides everything that you are supposed to be doing, right? And you go after the urge. So for example, the reason why I did not finish college is because I was addicted to a super stimuli. I kept going after it, and I put down all of my other priorities. Why? Because they were not stimulating. They did not generate enough of a reward in my brain, in my reward circuit, to go after the reward. So therefore, I was incapable of doing anything else except that. That is how the addiction works. That is how super stimuli works. Okay, so I understand that this can be scary to some people right now. You're probably realizing, oh my gosh, I've got a social media addiction, or I've got a high calorie food addiction, I've got a porn addiction, etc. Oh my gosh, how the heck do I overcome it? Relax, okay? There are ways to overcome it, I promise you. So yeah, again, this is called the Coolidge effect. Now, this does not require a genetic predisposition. Sorry. What I mean by that is, if you want to get addicted to heroin, meth, and everything, the numbers are not very high, right? And for example, opioids are painkillers. Like not paracetamol, but more ibuprofen. In America, they have those other painkillers that can be really, really addictive. But only a certain handful of people actually get addicted to them. That's why they're able to sell them, because there's only a small percentage. 15% of people only get addicted to painkillers. Why? Because there is a genetic predisposition. They are genetic hardwiring that enables them to get addicted to the drugs. It is the same with meth. It is the same with heroin. It is the same with cocaine, right? So those are substance-based addictions. But if you go to natural reinforcers, right, Natural reinforcers are more behavioral addictions, right? Such as video games, sex addiction, porn addiction, of course, which is what we're talking about, food, and of course, social media. You've got sex, you've got video games, and you've got food, right? So those are all behavioral addictions, right? Those have a slower onset. Why? Because the slower like if you're working out in the gym, right, you gotta do it longer and longer, then only you actually start to see the results, right? That is the way the addictions go for natural reinforcers, right? For drugs, it's really easy and it's very, very fast onsetting, right? And it's also fast onsetting. Why? Because people have the genetic predisposition to get addicted to them. But for natural reinforcers, right, and people don't realize it's a problem. If you look at Malaysia right now, 55.4% of us are obese. Why? Because people don't realize that there's a problem, or people know that there's a problem, people don't really understand what's going on. Now, the percentage of people who are porn addicted are way higher, right? What studies were actually done, I don't know, but from what I looked up, about 80% of the people, 30 million people in Malaysia, 80% are addicted to porn, thinking that is normal. So here is how porn grips your brain, right? We talked about the limbic system. You start with one video, then you start with another video, right? Let's start with another rat experiment, actually. So they got two rats, right? And they got a whole bunch of female rats, okay? They took one male rat and one female rat on heat and they put them in a cage, all right? Everybody can guess what happened after that. Right? The male mated with the female, okay? Again and again and again. But the male started to lose interest, so the graph started to go down, right? Every time it went up, it went down. Then the male went up, but not all the way up as the first time. Then it goes further down and further down. Eventually, the male starts to lose interest. So they took the first female out, okay? Then they took a second female and put it in. Our friend immediately got revitalized. Okay? So he copulated with the second female. Then they took the second female out, they put the third female. It kept happening and happening and happening. So the word for this is called novelty, right? And this is what porn encourages. This is what social media encourages. This is what a food addiction encourages. Why? Variety, right? If you go to a clothes store, would you like red or blue? Would you like red or green? Variety excites our reward system. Why? Because we get to choose. We get to have one or the other, or we can have both, right? So from a creationism standpoint, right, we believe in marriage. So how on earth, if we are programmed for novelty, how on earth are we supposed to stay married to one person? How on earth are we supposed to have sex with one person for the rest of our life? Very simply put, right? And this is just my opinion. This is not scientifically based. This has been put there to really, really test us. This has been really put there to really, really test us. But, of course, it is not supposed to be that way. It has been manipulated, right? The big head honchos of Pornhub, of RedTube, of, wherever the heck else, they have taken porn, right? They have put unrealistic expectations in, multiple positions, multiple women. You want blonde god, you want brunette god. For guys, you want this kind of body god. You prefer obese men, also god. Everything also god, right? We talked about the graph going down, right, with the rat when you put a second female in. This is how bad it can get. This is how bad it can get. And this kind of goes into LGBTQ a little bit. It kind of goes into unrealistic expectations in the bedroom a little bit as well. So picture this, right? Let's say you've been watching, we'll use the porn example. Let's say you've been watching porn for maybe 5 years. right? The novelty of a female's private part can start to wear off for a guy. You think, okay, maybe let's try gay porn, right? That is step one, by the way. That is only step one. After that, you try animal porn. After that, you try inanimate objects. That is how bad it can get, right? And out of those, they can come. Of course, the first thing that comes out is rapists. The second thing, if you're a married man in porn addiction, there can be unrealistic expectations. There can also be erectile dysfunction. There can also be, for females, there can be the inability to get aroused. Why? Because you are already stimulated by the two-dimensional device in your hand. So what porn does is it takes our most primitive and onset, our most primal action. It puts it onto a screen and it enables us to access it 24/7. So if you think about, the older biblical times, right? Let's say Noah, Adam and Eve and whatnot. Adam and Eve, you think about Adam and Eve, right? Does Adam have any more mating partners? Of course not. There was only Eve. Right? So how? So how? So you think about those olden times, that how many females are there, right? If you're a guy in the olden times, you got no access to females, there's no overpopulation, things like that. There's a likely chance that there are not many females around for you to mate with. And out of those females, the chances of you actually mating with a female are even lesser, right? So what porn does is it gives you the access to more or less stimulate yourself, access your most primal state, stimulate yourself to the point, stimulate yourself to the point where none of our ancestors had this kind of access. But it's not an actual real woman. So our primal state is to fertilize a womb, right? For a guy. And for a woman, your primal state is to be fertilized, to be fruitful and multiply, that as the Bible says. But what porn has done is it has taken that primal state and it has said, you know what, this two-dimensional thing on my screen, fertilize this two-dimensional thing, right? Or be fertilized by this two-dimensional thing, right? And if you're bored, you're bored with this video, okay, go to the next one. Then go to the next one. Fertilize that, fertilize that, fertilize that, fertilize that, right? For a guy to physically do, you must understand, you guys must understand the power of this, okay? For a female and for a male, you realize you hold 50% of creating another human life. 50% of creating another human life. When you ejaculate that on a daily basis, you take significant resource out of your body, vitamins, nutrients. Why do you start to get sick? Why do you start to have a fever? Why do you start to get weak? Why do you start to have brain fog? Because you're taking out significant nutrients from your body for reproduction. It's the same with guys and it's the same with girls. Girls, women, you ever wonder why your period hurts so bad? Because there's another life inside of you that is dying. Right? Physically, there's another life inside of you that is dying and a new life is being reborn. So naturally, it takes up most of your body's natural resources to do such a thing. So for a guy to do it over and over and over and over again, your body is going to run low on natural resource. Pair that up with social media addiction, pair that up with food addiction, high calorie addiction, you are looking at a recipe for disaster.
Right.
So,
Sandesh.
Yes.
Well, thanks for sharing. Hey, but I want to get into how do we get out of this? Because I think
of course.
Yes. We are about 5 minutes to the end of show. But let's talk about that.
Of course. Yes. Well, Pastor Andy knows I can go on and on about this. There's actually a lot that I haven't actually covered.
Like, we've never heard of pornography discussion on that on that light, really. So thanks for bringing all of this to light. It's a
Yeah.
really different perspective to look at how it crushes a person's life. We always talk at a level of addiction, but we never talk about the process of what happens, around the systems and all that. Yeah, it's actually a very scary thing. But yes,
It is
how
a
do you
very
get
scary
out of
thing.
things like this?
Of course. So, the guy that I spoke about, Gary Wilson, the book that he released, Your Brain on Porn, that is Your Brain on Porn. If you guys want to go and look it up, yourbrainonporn.com, or you want to download the book, you can go ahead and do that. The movement that this guy started is called NoFap. Now, NoFap is an action that accesses your neural pathways. Okay, let me explain what NoFap is and what it does first. Okay, so NoFap is basically not masturbating, not ejaculating, and not watching porn for 90 days for men and women alike. Right? So for the fellow addict that is listening, or fellow former addict, or whoever is listening, that is probably the hardest thing that you have to do. It is the hardest thing that you can do, especially for a guy, because the neural pathways in your brain is such where it is so deeply ingrained in your brain, where if you don't do it, you're gonna go ridiculously crazy, you're gonna get ridiculously aroused, and you're not gonna be able to sit with it. So there are quite a few things that you have to do to get over this addiction. But the primary thing, of course, is NoFap. So again, NoFap is no masturbation, no porn, and no ejaculation whatsoever for 90 days. Right? That is in its simplest form, right?
Yep.
When you actually start doing that, of course, by the second day, the third day, and everything, you're gonna go crazy, right? Or the first week itself, you think, oh my gosh, yes, I've conquered it, and then the 8th day, you relapse. It's called a relapse. So the first thing that I would recommend, if you're planning to do something like this, of course, and this is hopefully, I know that there are some pastors and all listening to this right now, the first thing that you definitely should do is get comfortable talking about it. Get comfortable to get an accountability partner to check on you every single day, every single hour if you can. Get an accountability partner, right? You text your accountability partner, hey, I'm aroused, right? Or the real world term is horny. Hey, I'm horny. I really have the urge to get into porn right now, right? And your accountability partner is going to say resist, which is, in its essence, yes, the urge, the first few days you have to resist. Then after that, that is the first way you can do it. The second day you can use to do it is substitute, right? If you guys read the book Atomic Habits, it describes it basically states that it takes 21 days to form a habit, and the way you form a habit is through substitution, or the way you get over an unhealthy habit is substitution. So the second thing that you can do is substitution. So if you feel like you've got an urge, to masturbate, you've got an urge to turn on your porn site, these are the list of things that you can do. Number 1, jump straight into a freezing cold shower. What a cold shower does is it will normalize your dopamine levels, and it will basically, the tanki that releases the reward into your receptors, the tank will start to normalize, it will start to go down. Why? Because you are dying slowly in the cold shower, right? And immediately after you get out, because your dopamine system has been normalized, you'll feel more productive, right? And then you look for a cue. So maybe your cue is get some work done, and then your tank will start to fill up with that kind of work. So that that's called delayed gratification, right? Delayed and instant gratification. I didn't really have the chance to get into that, but by God's grace, if I get a next session, I'll go into detail about instant and delayed gratification. But for time's sake, yeah, you normalize your dopamine levels into a cold shower. That's the first thing that you can do to substitute that, right? Second thing that you can do is meditation. Meditation, very, very simple. You sit down, make sure your environment is completely quiet, close your eyes, just feel the urge. Just feel it. You don't have to do anything about it. You don't have to act on it. Why? Because your cerebral cortex is much bigger than your limbic system. So your logical mind has power over your emotional mind, to put it in layman term. Use your logical mind, use the power of your logical mind to control the emotion, to control the urge, right? Or don't control it, just let it consume you, just feel it and sit with that feeling, get used to it, love it, but don't act on it. That is how you can establish control over it, right? That is the second way you control it. That's the second way you can control it. The third way, get up and go to the gym. Get up and go to the gym. Why? Because these sexual urges, they are all energy. You can use that energy, you can put it into something else. You can go to the gym, you can go for a run, you can go and cook, you can go and clean, you can substitute, you can take the energy and can convert it into something else. That is the great thing about the human mind. You can take the energy and you can convert it. So those are 3 ways that you can substitute the urge, right? So the first way, as we went over, is an accountability partner. The second way is substituting, right? Now eventually, right, like smoking for example, right, or drinking, alcoholism, eventually you're going to notice, okay, my conscious mind has more control over my emotions, and you naturally, what you're going to start to notice is this: there are a lot of positive benefits to doing this. Number one, you're going to notice you're more in control of your emotions. Number two, you're going to realize you're in a better mood all the time. Number three, you're going to realize you're a lot more productive, right? And that is actually the natural human state. The natural human state is being a producer, being productive, being, a great addition to society, etc., etc., right? And after you surpass 90 days, your brain will go through something called a reboot. So the reboot is basically refreshing everything. The addiction will not totally be gone, but you will have the most immense control. You have the most immense control over your mind, right? So that is physically and that is mentally. Spiritually, this is what I have experienced. Spiritually, I notice a much more coherent and divine connection to our Creator. That is spiritually, there's something that I noticed that, I really could feel the worship. I could, music production is a hobby of mine. I noticed that I came up with a lot of ideas. I noticed I came up with a lot of inspirations. I noticed that I was joyful. I noticed that I was in control. And that it's a product of reclaiming your natural resource, reclaiming your energy, right? So those are most of, if not all of the things. I'm sure that there are more, but the most effective thing is NoFap. And the ways that you can do that is, number one, getting an accountability partner, and two, substituting it. So those are the ways to overcome it, in my experience.
Wow.
Real sifu, Pastor.
Real sifu. It really feels like Sandesh has like 3 more hours of things to talk about.
Yeah.
But we don't have the time today, so we have to get him back some other way. Ganesh?
Yeah.
Maybe a Rebel conference.
Yeah.
Maybe a session in X-Teens itself. Yes.
Yeah.
Sure, would be honored to.
I think, Ganesh, everybody was listening so intently that they didn't ask any questions.
Yeah. I was paying a lot of attention also.
Yes. Good.
It's
Thank
like
you so much.
New stuff lah.
Yes. Never saw porn addiction that way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of facts, scientific facts that actually takes place. It's good. It's good, and it's good that this whole session is now going to be online on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So please keep coming back. We've got lots of other topics as well that we cover. We'll keep you guys posted. on when Sandesh may come and join us again. But yeah, Ganesh, anything you want to say before we say good night to everyone?
No, but do follow us on socials. And
Yeah.
probably, I'm sure Sandesh might be willing. But if you want to have a private chat with him, on all these systems, you can probably look him up on Instagram or something, right? Sandesh,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But
Sure.
yes, be with us. Follow us on YouTube and also on Instagram, Xteens. If you want to be in touch one way or another, we meet every weekend actually, and this weekend we are meeting for Easter celebration. So if you like to
Yeah.
know more about Easter and what Christianity is all about, which is actually Easter, right? We have something very exciting happening this Saturday. So if you're
Yes.
around Klang Valley, Malaysia, and you like to experience Easter, whether first time or after experiencing it many years, we invite you to come over. Okay, so just reach out to us on Xteens and let's speak. Yep.
Yes.
Other than that, nothing else. We hope to see you on Xteens chat again. We have 2 sessions in May, and we'll connect again once again. Yeah, Pastor.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. Time to say good night.
All right.
Have a
I'll
good
see you
night.
guys next time then. Thank you, Sandesh,
Bye.
once again. Let's catch
No,
up.
no
worries.
fapping. No fap. No fap. All right.
No fab. Okay. All right, guys. I'll see you guys. Ciao. Bye bye.
Good night.
Bye.